But our next session is actually one that is at the heart of today's conference, and it's really around wealth creation. 80% of, well, let me make sure I get you the stats right. According to the World Trade Organization, 70% of all world's employment globally, right, comes from SMEs, which represent over 90% of business population in the world. Let me repeat that. According to the World Trade Organization, 90% of all businesses in the world sit under SMEs. Of those, 70% of all global employment is provided by SMEs. And in developed economies, they make up 55% of GDP. When you hear what the contribution is here in Kenya, that statistic we get from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, who told us in their research last year for 2020 that our MSMEs contribute 40% of GDP to Kenya. And of those, we have 7.41 million MSMEs, but only 1.56 are licensed. But I bring all of this up today because really and truly, it is that leap that entrepreneur has in their and faith in their idea or their solution that is usually the heart of all of these businesses that we can hear drive the global economy. And so today's session is going to be with a couple of those entrepreneurs. There we have Sethebe Manake, we have David Fisayo, who are going to be talking to us this afternoon about their entrepreneurship journey, and for us to hear some of those challenges and also debunk some of the myths that are there. And so I can't wait to introduce you to them. I'm going to just make sure. I know that David was on earlier, and Sethebe and I were chatting a little bit earlier on today. I just want to make sure that she's on the panel and ready to go. And yes, you both are. Hi there. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So they're both business owners in their own right. Sethebe, you will tell us a little bit more about her business when she comes on. David, a little unknown thing about David is that he's been on a TED Talk. I hope you guys watch TED Talks because you learn so much. They're part and parcel of YouTube University. And he is on one of those, and his TEDx talk was called How Mobile Technologies Are Shaping Africa's Future. He's also been listed on Yahoo Finance's top 100 ethnic minority future leader in 2020. And so we have, we have very illustrious panelists today, and who are also young and excited about this future that is African. And so welcome, karibu is what we say in Kiswahili. So Sethebe, please welcome to the panel. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Great, thank you so much. I hope I'm pretty audible. And thank you so much, Anne and Wange.
Wangeshi.
Okay. Thank you so much. And everybody, today has been quite enlightening. As you said earlier, my name is Sethebe. I'm from Botswana. So I run a company called Vantage Properties. So just a little bit about my history and sort of as an introduction. A chartered surveyor in property investment and finance. I've been in the real estate industry for, I think, over 12 years now. Have a degree from the University of Cape Town in property studies. I've done quite a lot of work across the continent. I mean, earlier when ICALAN were talking about Fahari, I was one of the team at Standard at the time that was part of the founding team of Fahari at the beginning. So it was pretty exciting to hear where it is now and the great work that the team is doing now. I have been a property manager, asset manager in real estate across the board. I've done all sorts of property investment vehicles, from your pension funds to your listed companies. When I finally left corporate, was when I was CEO of a listed property company called Little Norma in Botswana. And then I started this baby that I initially started when I first graduated, about a year after I graduated. And it was simply because of a need that I found in the market that kept on growing up until it grew horns and kicked me out of corporate, basically. So that is basically it from me. In terms of Vantage Properties, the company that we built, or that has become now, started off as a real estate research company. And it was coming off of the very same thing that we've been talking about the whole day of Africans having access to land, but not being able to extract value from it in a way that they can be able to build wealth. And we just decided, or I decided, that I need to be part of that solution. I want to be able to provide people with information that they're able to use to make the right kind of decisions of where to buy, how to buy, what to build, when to get out, how much to invest in things, what kind of vehicles they should be using. So that started off basically in 2008. And when I eventually left and did it full time back in 2015, 16, then I started learning about real estate technology and the impact of data on decision making, and quickly started transitioning the business from being an ordinary research consulting firm into now a tech business. And what we now do is we do data analytics. We track data analytics around investments, around human behavior, around valuations, sales, and things like that. And then we sort of predict what is going to happen. So we aid developers, investors, financial institutions around their products. And then one of the key things which we sort of launched last year as one of our flagship products was automated property valuations, especially to bring in affordability for the ordinary man to be able to do their valuations in a much more easier way or more affordable way. And now we have started introducing simple automated reports that one can plug in their address and be able to know fundamentals of the property that they're looking for, whether it's something that they should be going in or not. So basically, that's it in a nutshell.
Well, that's fantastic. It's so good to hear that you're looking at data in decisioning, especially when it comes to property. You know, we just had the section now about asset management around real estate investment trusts. But, you know, one of the comments that were made in the morning session was really around how much land is such an emotive asset class, if I could call it that, especially in East Africa. So if you're able to, I guess, put a bit of an arm's length to the process where it doesn't become so emotional when those decisions are being made, that's really fantastic to hear. And I'm sure you'll tell us a little bit more about that as we talk about your entrepreneurship journey this afternoon. So David, over to you. Please tell us a little bit more about your business and also how you ended up on this fantastic global list for Yahoo.
That's great. So thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much, Rigashi and Anne and everyone at Rigo Up for having me. I'm very much looking forward to speaking with you all this afternoon. Just a bit into my background. So I grew up in between Nigeria, the US, and the UK. And following that, studied business finance at Durham University here in the UK before embarking on my professional career at KPMG initially. And there I specialize in customer and digital finance product design, working with fintechs, challenger banks, and kind of retail banks to bring new digital financial propositions to market. Since then, I've on my entrepreneurship journey, and I'm now the co-founder of Wealth8, which is a digital wealth management platform that's providing easy and affordable access to investing in global financial markets and also offering financial education to support for that long-term wealth creation. And our vision really is to financially empower and democratize access to generational wealth creation for Africans in the diaspora and on the continent. I'm also a director at Foundermind, which is a nonprofit that specializes in startup incubation and scale-up acceleration programs for underrepresented founders here in the UK. And that's really around helping people really build and turn ideas into full functioning businesses and then access funding. And I could do that work. And in addition to that, also do some angel investing. When I'm not working, I'm a big runner, cyclist, and I like to say occasional boxer. But I'm what you call the opposite of undefeated boxer, which I'll let you do the maths on that one. But I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship and especially how you leverage technology to deliver positive social impact. So this is a topic very close to heart. And yeah, look forward to speaking with Sethebe and everybody and answering questions as we go along.
All right, then. So I like how that sort of like pivoted really nicely into the Wealth 8 video, which we're going to watch just now before we get into our Q&A. So Paul, if you're able to play that for us, that would be fantastic. We had a really good session with Vimpa this morning. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Fisayo, and I'm the co-founder of Wealth 8. Our mission at Wealth 8 is to simplify the journey to achieving financial freedom by giving you the tools and the knowledge that you need to save and invest in your future.
Hello, my name is Bingpei Konchu. I'm a co-founder of Wealth 8. Women are one of the largest underserved groups of customers in financial services today. Yet, we're more and economically independent. Easy. At Wealth 8, we believe that everyone, regardless of their background, should be able to invest in the global markets to meet their financial goals. So, how do we intend to do this?
We connect people with investment opportunities by providing you with easy access to global investment funds and providing you the ability to learn the language of investing. My generation are the gatekeepers of the future and need to be financially equipped to create a more dynamic and equitable society. There is no time like the present for you to take control of your wealth and your future.
The time to start building or enhancing your financial future is now. You could be saving for a rainy day, or for your first home, or even for your children's education. Start investing now. Sign up to wealth8.com.
Brilliant. That was really nice. Thank you for that. So I was chatting with Sethebe earlier, and she asked me, we were talking about today's session, and she pointed out something that is like, I have to share because I thought it was such a fantastic idea. And really, it's around, let's have that conversation around what it means to be an entrepreneur. I have a background in law personally, but I'm really into the ag sector, right? I'm not a very good farmer, I have to admit, but it was one of those situations where, I grew up in a farming community, but it was always one of those things where you're told, if you're the successful one, you should be, success is considered, being an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. Maybe you can do a business degree and get employed, right? But it was never seen as, starting your own business, going into agriculture. That was sort of seen as the thing that was done if this other stuff didn't work out. And so I don't know what the experience is for you guys, for you, David, or for Sethebe, but it would be really interesting to talk a little bit about that, around that mindset that earlier generations have about what it means to be an entrepreneur, and how has that influenced you at all as you embarked on your own entrepreneurship journeys?
Okay, great. I'll start since you shine the light on me. I think for me, particularly in Botswana, I think I've spoken before with Anne about the difference between what I think East Africa has and what the Botswana experience is. In Botswana, education is it's the thing that you must be doing, and all the things that follow must be related to whatever you studied. And a lot of the entrepreneurs that we have currently are first generation entrepreneurs, and especially in the line of what we're talking about building wealth and building businesses that will last generation after generation. A lot of our parents, apart from the few who would have one shop that would eventually die with them, or have a butchery or whatever, a small outlet. We have very, very few of those, and a lot of them, in terms of the families being able to carry through, have been hard. So essentially, the whole idea of an entrepreneur coming, or a person choosing an entrepreneurship path while they are doing well in school is sort of seen as a rebellion of sort, or it's, why are you doing this when we have sacrificed all that we have sacrificed, when the government has done everything it needs to do for you to be able to get the education that you need? So there is a lot of stigma around that. There's a lot of even expectation, or even just for you to succeed from the get-go, and without that that empathy or that understanding of how long it takes for a business to come to a point where everybody, or to get to a point of success, or to get to a point where everything sort of stabilizes. So I don't know if David has also had the same kind of experience.
Yes, no, that's a very good, very good question, a good point to highlight. I always sometimes feel some sort of sympathy maybe with parents of different generation, because ultimately we all have the same intention. So they want us to succeed, we want to succeed. And yeah, rightly so on the point. I think sometimes when you think of entrepreneurship, you may not necessarily think of the easy success path. Like if you've invested in your education and you can become a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant, it seems that's the path to success. So when someone would openly want to go through a path, which I would tell you is definitely not an easy path, to choose a different path that doesn't align to the education and to all the experiences, it becomes quite interesting. But what I do think is that sometimes I think some of this is part of education, and some of these narratives may change. And I'll give a personal example story. So my sister, whilst not an entrepreneur, she works at TikTok. And I remember when she first got her job at TikTok, my dad didn't know what TikTok was. And in his mind, it was from TikTok to Facebook, like it was just all foreign. But once understood that actually TikTok and Facebook are two of the biggest companies in the world right now, equal to any of the big companies, you know, it changed the narrative that, oh, actually, it is not going to work in some startup or something. This is a functioning company. And as Wangeshi highlighted earlier, that actually contributes strongly, widely to GDP and economic growth. So I do think that the narratives will kind of soon change with that understanding of like what entrepreneurship is and what entrepreneurship could, what it could be. Plus all the education we go through is 100% valuable in the entrepreneurship journey. So the school education, the university, whilst it wasn't learning how to do X, Y, Z, it's all part of that learning that actually makes you prepared or more prepared to be an entrepreneur.
That's a good one, because that leads very nicely into what I was thinking of asking you both next, which is, you know, what would you tell that person who's just starting out in their business? I know, David, you mentioned that, you know, you also work with an organization that, you know, funds, that acts as an angel investor and you know, and it's funding startups, especially underrepresented startups, which I guess in the UK are probably minority owned. So if you could just, you know, what would you tell that person, that one who's about to start their business? Are you gonna, you know, what would you say to them, given your experience of being part of Wealth 8 and these other platforms?
Yeah, so actually, I've always got this thing where I tell everyone, and I top 3 tips. So one is start. to solve, 3 speak. And to break it down, start means, it doesn't mean quit your job, but start means start taking practical steps, actually turning the idea into something, because we all see these overnight successes and we all see end products of the work. But starting is, if you have an idea and you could think about something for 6 months and it will remain in your head. So the first step is write it down. Go, as you said, YouTube Academy, that there's so much. What are you doing to take this thought to make it real? 2, on solve, is focus on the problem and not the solution. So I meet a lot of people who, and I always have to keep myself focused on this as well, is when you get into your solution and you've created a site, you've created certain things, sometimes it's hard to step back from what the solution is. But if you focus on what you're solving and the problem, you always, that will keep you grounded. Plus, when the going gets tough or you have to change, because in the world of entrepreneurship or startups, pivoting is so very normal, you're okay with it because you realize you're focused on what you're solving. And then by speak, yes, who is it for? So if it's an entrepreneurship, it tends to always be a product or solution to solve a problem. So who are you solving that problem for? How are you engaging with them? How do you make sure that what you're doing is constantly addressing that? So never stop speaking to who you're actually kind of working with through that point. So those would be my kind of top 3 key things.
Fantastic. Very Twitter worthy. We'll put those straight away. Sethebe, what about you? What would you say to that person who's just starting out their business, or who, tell us, give us your thoughts.
It will almost sound like a cop-out of David's, but mine is just one simple thing. Your motivation has to be something that will wake you up on a rainy day with no money in the bank. That's the only thing.
Wow. That for whatever reason, that particular phrase for me has made me think of Eliud Kipchoge, the greatest marathoner in the world, who also happens to be Kenyan. He always says, it is only the disciplined who are free. And so I guess in this particular case, it is those who are motivated who are going to succeed. So yeah, thank you for that one. And both of you are actually doing quite a bit around digitization, right? From what you said to us in your opening statements, you're both really looking at leveraging technology in order to reach your clients, to solve for those problems or issues that you flagged in your business. And I'd just like to hear from both of you how the pandemic has affected how you work, and how that sort of ties into the fact that you are in this technology space. Has it helped to grow your business? Has it slowed it down? What's been the effect of COVID on your business?
Yeah, I think on our side, it came in at the most fortunate time, if one could say that about COVID. Because when we started building our solution, it was at a time when our market was not really ready for a digital transformation or any kind of digital conversation. I mean, I remember when I used to, when we were presenting in real estate conferences where everybody would be saying, it's a little bit, a bit far, maybe 5-10 years from now. But with COVID coming in, it became quite evident that decisions have to be informed. We need to be able to project as much as possible for today's decisions, because with real estate, the decision that you make now will affect you for the next 3-4 years. You get into a long-term lease, it locks you in, it locks in your business for a while. So that's one of the key things that have happened. The other thing is just being able to, or thinking about opening up our platform for other valuers to be able to use our platform in order for them to be part of the digitization process. So COVID also was able to sort of motivate them or encourage them that it's perhaps something that they need to be able to explore. And then in terms of in our operations in the business, it was a quick wake up that we really need to be completely digitized in terms of our operations. We need to be able to work remotely, whether or not there's a lockdown, and things need to be able to operate anyway. So it was a great fueler to us being able to speed things up. And I think it was a really good thing for us in terms of the business as a whole.
Wow. And then I guess, are you, and we'll jump to you, David, in just a second. So I think what I'm hearing from you is that it acted as an accelerator for technology use and for also digitizing these processes. We have a question from the audience for your contact information. So if it's something you can share for your business, you'd like to put that on the chat for all panelists and all attendees, whether it's your website or how they can reach out to you to be able to, I guess to use some of these services that you're providing, that would also be great. So David, tell us how all of this has worked for Wealth 8.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite. I guess that was quite interesting. So we are a fully digital business, and we were, I guess, fully kicking off at the beginning of the pandemic. So it wasn't this full change. What was interesting though, I guess, was the full remote working, and I guess traditionally my background has working with people. I'm very much a people person. I enjoy actually seeing people, working with people. So that's shifting. There's certain people we've worked with for a year that you haven't actually seen, and that element was interesting. But from a business, I guess, product perspective, what was interesting is that actually the pandemic. So we offer investment access to both investment funds. So funds that consist of bonds, stocks, and other alternatives. And the pandemic has really seen a rise in people thinking about their personal finances, trying to understand the importance of saving for a rainy day. And what we're able to do, before launching, was use all this interest to actually build that demand for the product and service that we're offering. But more importantly, we're able to then identify a new problem we could really solve, which is the financial education. So I think, Wageshi, I heard you alluding earlier to, was it quail eggs and Bitcoin? But as you've seen in the pandemic, a lot of people are looking at some maybe get rich quick schemes. So I want to invest in GameStop, or I'm trying to find the new Bitcoin. And we've really been able to focus on using education to support people who are interested in growing their wealth and making a return, but not having them maybe lost in the world of, I see someone tweet about an opportunity, therefore I get lost on the herd curve. So from a business point of view, that demand, that discussion has really kind of helped that interest and allowed us to hone down on an important aspect for ourselves.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it also, goes to what we, the other question that I'd like to hear from you guys are, where you consider being a surprising place to have a client come from, right? And whether that has been pushed by the fact that you've now digitized the services that you have. And so I'll give you an example. I've worked, I do these conferences and I got to work with people from Poland and from the Philippines, which would never have happened if it weren't for this sort of digital space and that connection of being forced to move everything to the virtual space. So do you guys have any examples of places where you've gotten clients from that were a bit of a surprise to you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for us, the one that sticks out is somebody from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It was completely off the radar, I couldn't imagine how they would have come through. But yeah, for us, that's been somebody from Japan.
And they wanted you to do the assessment for them, the valuation for them?
So they were looking at investing in Africa. So Botswana was one of the countries that they were looking at. And they just wanted more information in terms of market information, what's happening where, and these are what their interests were. And it was just an amazing thing to just have them pop up like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's truly a global village. And what about you, David? Any experiences like that?
Yes, actually, I use an example from Foundervine. So we prior to the pandemic, all our programs were in person. So, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. You come to a certain venue at a certain point in time. And when the pandemic first happened, to be very honest, we thought we were we thought that was it. But very quickly, just like yourselves, devised out how to do. We had a program running in March, devised how to do programs virtually. All of this. Then very interesting, in the summer, we had a reach out from someone in Romania, and they were looking to run their first virtual accelerated program for a group of startups in the community. But what was more interesting is that we weren't sure what the question was, but the question was, we've seen what your work and your content and what you've been doing. It's like, have you always been doing this? It looks best in class. Now we are looking for someone to consult us on how to do it. And we were like, we don't do consulting. So they're like, well, can we do consulting? I was like, I mean, we know how to do what we're doing. So that was fortunate, because there's now a new service line that we were able to design it, deliver, but then package it and say, hey, actually, you know what? You can actually now do this as a new service to other people. So that was quite interesting.
That's fantastic. I think it goes back to what you gave as the advice. Focus on the problem. What are you solving for? So exactly. That you were able to pivot and do that right away. That's fantastic. We're almost coming to the end of our session. It just seemed to have gone by so fast. But again, it's the era of YouTube University, right? What books or podcasts have made a difference for your business in the last maybe 3 years that you would like to share? We'll start with you, David.
So I'm a big podcaster. I learn most of my life through podcasts and just through the discussions and the conversations and the nuggets of information I get. And so a big thing, some of my personal favorites are 11FS FinTech Insider. So that's really about all the world, everything fintech. They do twice a week, weekly drops, and have people from fintech banking from across the world, which is great. How I Built This with Guy Raz, and Product Hunt Radio. And How I Built This is probably one of my favorites, because it's such a great resource that contextualizes the journey of any startup. And what it does is that it breaks down these overnight stories. So you can actually hear the pain, the unfun bits that you don't necessarily hear from these founders that you glorify. And you hear moments about, when they were about to turn up the lights and fire the first 3 people, and then it transforms. So it's really great to kind of show that. And 2 of my favorite episodes, if people want to dive deeper. So Canva, which is the $1 billion graphic design platform, Melanie Perkins. Very interesting. They didn't start off as a graphic design platform, and they're now a $1 billion company. And also Bumble, the dating app that recently IPO'd. Whitney Wolf, she goes very deep, because there's a lot of a personal story in that as well, beyond the business. So again, yes, it's some of my personal favorites.
Thank you. Thank you for those. Sethebe, what about you?
I wouldn't say I'm pretty much a podcast person. The one that sticks out for me is Founders Talk, which has been really great in terms of normalizing the entrepreneurship journey, the tough conversations, the good things, the bad things, the ups and the downs. And then more for me is I subscribe to Audible, which lets me listen to a lot of audiobooks. And my favorite one to date that I think I've listened to a couple of times is called Machine Platform and Crowd. And it's like a manual for me in terms of the direction that the business should take and the critical things that we need to be looking for in this digital economy. So yeah, for me, those are the two key things that I listen to on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you both so much for that, for just being so honest and just having this really open conversation with us today, and sharing your journey. As we said in the beginning, this is how it all begins. This is how wealth is created, is by that person who decides that they're going to get into business and stop, translate an idea into something that is actionable. And well done to both of you, and keep at it. As you can hear, even your clients are global. They're looking for you from all over the world. So keep providing that service. I see Anne had just switched her camera back on, so I'm going to turn it over to her. And again, just say thank you to ICA Lion, say thank you to Regal Africa, and to our panelists today.